Hello again to all of my subscribers, paid and free. This is Donald Earl Collins again coming to you from Fool's Gold Confessions from an Educated Fool on Substack. I'm going to talk to you today again about Spinning Sage's Gold and another one of the allegorical essays in Spinning Sage's Gold that deals specifically with the issue of myth busting and dealing with the issue of how American racism relates to American narcissism and more broadly the West, how the West and its racism relates to the narcissism that the West and the US have spread throughout the world over the past half millennia. But before I get into all that, I want to give you a little bit of background on this chapter. On this essay. The fact of the matter is that I wrote this essay first. This is actually the first essay that I wrote where I decided to take pieces of the non-fictional, the work that I've done with Al Jazeera, mostly among other places, talking about racism and narcissism and how it's developed over time from a historical standpoint and even from a social psychological perspective, and put it and paired it with the allegorical, pairing it with a story that involves my would-be descendant in Olivia, right? And so envisioning Olivia and envisioning this particular essay, the most important essay, in my opinion, of the book. It might not be for you, for those who are reading the book already, but for me, it's the most important essay because it was the first one. And it was the one where I put it together, and after several drafts, I realized I can make this allegorical thing work. It probably can work with what I'm doing, right? But in thinking it through and deciding on Olivia and deciding on how I was going to write about Olivia, I had to, I made quite a few assumptions. One is this, that I'll have a lot of some sort of lineage, whether literal genetic lineage or some sort of, spiritual or some other ethereal, otherworldly kind of lineage that would lead to someone like Olivia. But the other part of that is that I would have enough wisdom, or someone like me would have enough wisdom to impart to women of African descent living 200-300 years later, right? Part of that vision also required me to make a basic assumption that if the world's going to get free and we're going to get to a post-Western world at all, then it's going to have to be black women to take the lead. It's not going to be black guys taking the lead. It's not going to be men taking the lead. Let's just put it that way. And it's certainly not going to be white guys, right? The dudes, and I'm not saying there won't be any white guys involved. I'm not saying that white guys can't be anti-racist. I mean, John Brown kind of comes to mind, right? I'm not arguing that at all. What I am arguing is that if we're talking about a movement, if we're talking about, rebellion and revolution, whether it's a peaceful one or a violent one or a combination of all those things, then you need large numbers of people involved. Not the majority of people, certainly, but enough people to push things along. And I think the majority of those people are going to be women. And the majority of those people are probably going to be women of African descent and other women of color. Before you get to second wave feminist white women who usually are too busy looking out for themselves to be involved in any larger movements because they're literally foot soldiers for the patriarchy, except with a few exceptions. So that's the assumption I made. And I know for some guys, particularly guys who are alpha males, you're probably like, what's this, person saying? Because there are a lot of words I could throw in there. But it's this weak ass, saying about all this, right? So whatever, right? I don't care. That's what happens when you're in your mid-50s. Why I give a shit what you think about me? But anyway, that's my assumption, that black women will be the vanguards of this post-Western world. So let me just read to you the first couple of pages to give you a flavor for what I'm trying to do in this essay. So it's called Myth-Busting is for Children. Detention Camps are for Narcissists. So from the time she was 4, Olivia listened with enchantment to her grandma's stories about changes in the world, tales about a global civilization that once shunned those with black and brown skin, a time when, quote, black women had to beg for pleases and thank yous from white folks who'd sooner spit on you than give you a kind word. Donna Noel, whom the other elders called Dell as a sign of familiarity and respect, often told Olivia these stories to remind herself that the world had evolved to elevate the full humanity of black and brown women. But not just that. Dell was passing down to Olivia the idea that being well off wasn't the same as being well adjusted. Don't go out in this world acting like someone's supposed to bow down to you. You may be a queen, but you're not the queen, Dell often said. In university upper primary school, a young white Botswana named Willem tried to pick a fight with Olivia during after-school football practice. Ironic that this ugliness would occur on the week of Ida B. Wells' Day, which fell on a Saturday this particular year. It was a 23-degree-Celsius day in July with the kind of fiery blue sky that made you remember that it was in fact the third month of dry season. With bullying and physical contact being so rare among preteens, Willem's name-calling caught Olivia by surprise. After Willem called Olivia Miss Goody Two-Shoes for the fifth time, he walked up from behind her and cupped and squeezed her left butt cheek. Olivia snapped. A half minute later, she drop-kicked her football up into the air, jumped half a meter off the ground while twisting and floating her sinewy 175-centimeter body to her left, and kicked the ball with all her might. Olivia's 125-kilometer-per-hour smash hit Willem square in the face, knocking him to the short browning turf. He was nearly unconscious. His right leg jerked spontaneously while blood dripped from his broken nose. The middle of William's face had swelled, turning a shade of crab seldom seen in this part of the world. Olivia faced layers of punishment for her misdeed. She lost her place in the football team for the rest of winter season. Bibi, the school counselor, would have to meet with Olivia every week for the next 6 months. Boy Pello, Olivia's mom, though she was secretly proud of her daughter, also knew that providing no punishment at all would send the wrong message. So Boy Pello had Olivia apologize to Willem for breaking his nose. Olivia also had to do 80 hours of volunteer work at the local hospital, running medicinal replicators and stocking supplies. But with Dell, Olivia received both punishment and praise. Don't start nothing, won't be nothing, but start bouncing checks, get beat to nothing, huh? Dell half-assed while retwisting one of Olivia's thick braids by hand. Some post-Sade era music was playing in the background. Come on, Mama, that's so 20th century, Olivia chuckled. Olive, you know better than to respond to a taunt like that with physical violence. That said, you knocked the hell out of that boy's face. And I'm going to stop right there. I'm just giving you just a flavor of what's in the book. It's fictional, but it's based on a lot of real stuff, right? It's in the 24th century, but people are still human, and human beings do all kinds of, human stuff, including when they're kids, right? The difference is really how a society responds to what we call the 20th and what we called in my lifetime in the 20th and 21st century is boys will be boys kinds of stuff, or men are going to be men. Men are going to do what they do. They dog folks, they dog women, that sort of thing, right? So I give you that really to just get you into the next essay, to really give you a sense of who I'm talking about, the kind of world that we're talking about, the kind of world where, yes, Olivia is in trouble because she physically harmed somebody. That would be true whether it would be now or 1,000 years from now. But the fact that she's being praised more than she's being penalized, and the penalties are restorative penalties. She's not going to juvie. She's not doing jail time. And as a matter of fact, if you read the story a little bit further, and I'm not going to go into that for this particular video, Willem has to deal with his own stuff. He has to deal with his own shit around his narcissism. Why are you sexually assaulting, albeit minorly? It's a butt cheek. It's not more serious than that, but that's still sexual assault. You grab someone's body part without permission, and you taunted this person at the same time. So yes, you have to deal with your own shit too. And then the thing that I propose in here, when I'll talk about in my next video, is detention camps. Detention camps are people with narcissism. Narcissism that might potentially be malignant, that might potentially cause harm to other people, might even be deadly coming somewhere down the line. Because in this post-Western world, we don't just say boys will be boys, and we don't just narcissists roam the world to go. That's not really narcissism, right? Because, selfishness is the same as narcissism, which it isn't. But narcissism, when you disregard other people's needs, wants, choices, free will, et cetera, which is what we have running rampant in the Western world now, something that needs to be dealt with. And so just a little flavor of what's in the book for y'all today.